Hey guys, it's Kurt from Wersi Club USA. Okay, before we take a look at more of the Keytron settings, I wanted to finish up with the controller stuff that we started in the last video. We want to talk a little bit about editing sounds, and we're going to hook up Cakewalk just to show you how the data looks when it's transmitted from OAX to an external device. And Cakewalk lets us see it versus listening to it using some kind of a sound module. The other thing that I tried, just to try it, because I said we would, is I plugged in MIDI over USB. So look closely at the picture. What do you see here? We've got all three MIDI out ports in use. And I'll show you how we sent data over USB versus using MIDI out 1 or MIDI out 2. So let's look at editing sounds and more of the controller data and what that looks like in our sequencer. Like most things that are USB related, this was pretty much as simple as running the cable from OAX, from that MIDI port I showed you, and plugging it into a USB port over on a Windows PC. In this case, it's running Windows 10. And sure enough, if you look under sound controllers, you see Wersi MIDI highlighted. So that's how it identifies itself on a Windows 10 machine. Now let's look at that from OAX point of view, and you notice my naming convention. So I have USB at the end, just so I know this is a voice that's sending over USB. Let's double click that guy, and remember, how did we do that? We clicked routing, we click edit. So MIDI out 1, MIDI out 2, you guys should already understand that from some of the earlier videos. And notice here, we've set up this voice to send data and receive data. Well, actually, I should say send, notice, because it just says out, on the USB connection. And that's kind of interesting because I haven't actually tried to receive any data. But based on that, maybe you can't even send data inbound on this USB connection. We'll see. Because these two have the same thing, and I'm pretty sure I've sent data inbound already. But we'll check on that in a future video. One thing we do want to mention is this edit sound option over here. That only appears on the external MIDI or VST, and I haven't done much with the VSTs, but I think it's there also. And I believe it was Jeff, might have been someone else, mentioned that in OAS you could edit a sound and save it, which is kind of what I expected. But it doesn't appear in OAX you can do that, though you can change manual controllers and sound controller information. If you mess with those things, either of those two tabs, you save those changes in a preset, and then, you know, whatever you've changed has been modified and saved in that preset. Why that strikes me as a little bit unusual is what if I want to use that same sound, whatever those changes are that I've made to that sound, what if I want to use that same sound in 6 or 7 presets? Unless I'm missing something, the way OAX is going to work, is I would have to go to each preset and make the same changes and save it. I would have expected we could have edited, is that a word? We would edit a sound and save it as a user sound called whatever, XYZ, and then you would pick that sound and those modifications would be there. So maybe I've missed something. If someone else knows what I've missed, speak up. Otherwise, maybe we'll stumble on it as we keep moving forward. All right, so let's play around a little bit here. Don't let the screen in the background scare you to death. We'll talk about that more in the future, but that is Cakewalk running on our PC. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and click record. And we're going to real quick jump back down here and bring the Sonic back into focus. And so manual controller, sound controller. Not really sure I understand the difference a whole heck of a lot. So let's see here. I can't turn panning on, which I find interesting, but I can come over here and I can turn this particular guy on. And if I scroll this up and down, oops, up and down like so, you notice there's a little graph back there. And just to kind of take a look at what that means, this is something called the event list. And this is the, I'm going to say the raw MIDI data. That's that slider, which was a controller 91. And these values over here represent us moving that slider up and down. So that's what the MIDI data looks like. And now if I have a external sound module attached and that module responds to controller 91, it would react to those settings based on OAX sending that data. So I made a comment that I thought it was odd that I couldn't edit under the manual controller, that I couldn't turn on controller 10 panning, notice. Now, if you go to Sound Controller, well, here's our good friend Controller 10 again, and notice I can turn it on now, and I can scroll up and down. So that must be something to do with what I don't understand, why Sound Controller, Manual Controller are different. And if you don't know what panning is, that would be like the balance control on your stereo from left to center to right, right? So this would be full right. This would be 50% is going to be right in the middle, and 0 would be full left. So that would be the MIDI data going back and forth. And gee whiz, I didn't record that. Let me click up here and click record in Cakewalk so you guys can see that data going back and forth. Let's go back to Sonic. Okay, let me get this window out of the way. You don't want to see that. Okay, so let's go back here to the sound controller. And notice again over here, there's a bunch of faders that are shaded, shadowed, whatever you want to call it. If I click one of these and I click Edit CC, up comes a window. And again, you can't see it very good in the green, but you can scroll through and pick, I'm just going to call them popular controllers, okay? Obviously, if you have a device that responds to controller 21, you could use it. But that is currently not, a standard controller. Well, I'll just leave it at that. So let's just pick, let's scroll up here. Okay, breath controller, fine. So now notice again, this is my comment earlier, that now that this is a VST sound, I'm going to say, yes, I'd like to save it. And that's modified this piano USB sound. And now I can move this, and if you watch up here, here's my good friend Cakewalk that's been idling in the background, and it's now responding to those controller changes and recording them. So here we should see controller 10. Here we're going to see controller, I forgot what I picked, but we'll see it here in a second in the raw data. So let's go back here and hit stop. Let's click on this region as it's called. So that was a controller 34, that guy that I said, what was that? Let me back up a little bit. And let's go back up here and let's page down a little bit, controller. And there's our 10. So this right over here, this particular spike, that's that controller 34, which was a breath controller, I think we said. And then I clicked on the first one, which is the panning / balance control. And you can see me moving it from left to right as these values increase. So 127 is going to be full right. And if I go up here a little bit and we get down to 50-ish, right around here, that's going to be right in the middle. And again, if I go back right here to 1, that's going to be full left. So again, that's how the MIDI data looks, and I'll show you one other thing here. MBT is measure, beat, and time. So Cakewalk is recording that at measure 10, beat 4, and something called tick, we'll talk about that later, 417, that value was set. And then at measure 10, beat 4, tick 420, it was still set at 1. And then a little bit further at tick 424, it was set to 2. So you get the idea there. It's capturing everything that's happening with the MIDI data. So Having said that, let me, where's my good friend here? TeamViewer, Sonic. Oops, again, fat fingers, Sonic. Okay, get this guy out of the way. So, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of more detail here at this point. I would love to hear some feedback and comments from folks. Some of you are scared to death of this. Some of you are loving this. And let's just keep learning, and I'll try stuff based on questions and comments. Next go round, we're going to switch back and look at the Keytron, mainly because there's a few folks out there that have them. Carlo has an SD40, Ross has an SD40. I've got an SD40 and a 90, and I know some folks that are getting 90 soon. I haven't really showed the 90. It basically works the same. But I want to look at the whole idea of multiple MIDI channels, multiple MIDI ports, and how you can access different sounds on the Keytron. And Carlo does it one way. I do it a different way. There's no right way or wrong way. There's just ways of doing it. So that'll be coming up here in the next couple of days. As always, thanks for watching.